Okay, so in Unit 3, we are learning about the American civilizations. Last quarter, we learned about the Mesoamerican civilizations, and Meso is in between South and North America. So far, we learned about the Olmecs, the Zapotec, the Maya, and the Aztec. And now we will learn about the South American civilizations, and that is the Inca culture. But before we go to the Inca proper civilization, we will learn about the pre-Inca civilization, meaning the civilizations before the famous Inca Empire. So have your books ready or log into our Loda USD website. Go to Clever, and from Clever launch Cengage Learning, and Cengage Learning log in your student account and password, and that will lead you to the National Geographic Learning, which is our world history resource. So if you are using the online version of the book, from the left side, Unit 3, and then Chapter 7, and whether you are using the online version or the printed textbook, it is in pages 176 to 177, Lesson 1.1, Pre-Inca Cultures. So before we go to the details of this lesson, it is important for us to know the essential question of this chapter. So chapter 7's essential question is, in what ways do civilizations adapt to the environments in which they live? And the objective of this lesson, lesson 1.1, is to explore pre-Inca civilizations in South America. So lesson 1.1 describes four pre-Inca cultures in Peru that adapted farming methods to irrigate desert areas, farm mountainous areas, and build terraced fields in the sides of hills or mountains. So humans have treasured gold for centuries. So when people mold gold into necklaces and bracelets, the beautiful finish outshines all other metals. In the northern and western parts of South America, four cultures developed extraordinary skill in working with gold and other precious metals. So these cultures lived in present-day Peru, which the Inca would dominate in AD 1400. In this lesson, we will explore four pre-Inca civilizations, and these are the Moche, the Nazca, the Wari, and the Sican group of people with their cultures. On the northwest coast of South America, the Moche culture flourished between 100 and 700 AD. So their land was harsh, a desert that was squeezed between the Andes Mountain to the east and the Pacific Ocean to the west. Like most great civilizations, the reason why they thrive is because of their creativity and their ability to adapt to their challenging environment. So, to irrigate the farm fields in their arid region, they built complex irrigation systems. They developed a strong military and ruled nearly 400 miles of the Peruvian coast. So the Moches are excellent artists. So they created vessels and decorated it with patterns, lines, drawings of animals, their rulers and warriors. And they also created beautiful jewelries made of gold. And of course, these are also patterned after real life objects or animals. And for the details and the fine arts that they created, some archaeologists are so impressed because it is so ahead of their time. The next culture in south of Peru, the Nazca culture tribe from about 8200 to 600. It was one of the earliest complex cultures in South America. So Nazca artisans were as highly skilled as those as the Moche, creating magnificent jewelry from gold, silver, and copper. They also formed ceramic pottery and decorated it with intricate designs from nature, such as birds and fish. However, their most impressive work, well mysterious, are the geoglyphs that they created. These geoglyphs are large geometric designs and shapes drawn on the ground, and they are ginormous. The shapes often took the form of animals or birds. The dry climate from Nazca, where Nazca lived, helped preserve the geoglyphs, so they were not erased. Archaeologists are still not absolutely certain what the purpose of the design was. So they are like straight from M. Night Shyamalan, alien sci-fi type of movie. Well, I think the word for that is they are really captivating and mysterious because what's the purpose of this? So, well, a lot of archaeologists and experts believe that they are for worship. It is their way of honoring their gods because they believe that gods, live in the higher place, heavens, and they can see these drawings, some sort of honoring them. Now let's talk about the Wari culture, the greatest military power among pre-Inca cultures. So they dominated the high desert of central Peru from about 500 to 1000 AD. With their strong military, the Wari overran the Nazca and other people and established the first empire in the region of the Andes Mountains. So the Wari were skilled farmers and they cultivate crops and they were able to creatively adapt to their harsh environment. And because of this, they became so powerful that they were able to establish an empire. Recently, archaeologists unearthed or discovered a royal tomb, and it revealed a great deal about the Wari culture. So, the tomb contained the remains of four queens or princesses and other members of the nobility. So, this is an illustration of how the tomb looked like. So, buried with the remains were golden earrings, copper axes, and silver bowls. The discovery indicates that not only did the Wari worship their ancestors, but they were like other pre-Inca cultures. They were gifted artisans with precious metals like gold and silver. So that is the Wari culture. That is the third culture. Now, finally, while the Wari ruled central Peru, the Sican, which is the last culture that we will cover here in this lesson, they flourished in the mountains of northern Peru from about AD 800 to 1400. So the Sican created delicate jewelry from gold, silver, and copper, which is like the moche, the Nazca, and the Wari. They perfected the technique of pounding gold into extremely thin sheets like paper. So archaeologists found two strips of metal that were only 0.006 inches thick, which is almost as thin as a piece of paper. They also showed great respect for the creatures of the natural world. So artists created a mural that was decorated with waves, fish, the sun, the moon, and when the Sican buried the dead, they prepared them for the next world by burying them with gold, copper, and shells to carry, water. So this practice revealed their beliefs in the afterlife. Now, before we go to our review and assess questions, let's take a look again at these geoglyphs that were mentioned about the Nazca civilization or cultures. Now let's take a look at this first geoglyph. So this is a giant spider. I don't know if you can tell. And it still exists today. So if you will look at this, although on your screen it looks small, this is an aerial view of this geoglyph, which is, I think, ginormous. Another one is a desert hummingbird. Now the next geoglyph is a hummingbird. So generally hummingbirds are small, but this one is about 220 feet from beak to the wings. So this glyph is drawn in the arid Peruvian desert, which explains why it's preserved because of the dry climate. So the question is, how did the Nazca draw lines on the ground? So this is their theory. This is their explanation of the experts. So first they outline a design with stones. Then they cleared away the top layer of the dirt and the rock to reveal lighter colored ground, and they unearthed it underneath it. So Then they reinforce the outline with the design with more stones to create an elevated edge. Because the region receives very little rain, the designs were not washed away and have been preserved for hundreds of years. And finally, let's take a look at this last design. This next geoglyph to me looks like a cat, and I think most people agree. So, well, it's interesting how, they probably see them as important creatures to the point of worshiping them. Or for some reason, it symbolizes something for them that is very important, the values that they think are important characteristics that they see among cats. Well, I'm not a cat person, but this is very interesting. So, there are different shapes and sizes of geoglyphs. Probably a lot of them were just erased because of farming, and some were preserved for us to enjoy and be, curious what's up with this geoglyphs and what's the story behind them. Okay, now let's go to our review and assess questions. The first one, reading check. Where did the pre-Inca cultures live? There are 4 pre-Inca cultures. Number 2, summarize. What have discoveries of tombs revealed about pre-Inca cultures? We, talk about a Wari tomb that was discovered. And finally, compare and contrast. In what ways were these 4 pre-Inca cultures similar? Well, obviously, if you can provide ways that they are different, that will be very good. Now go to our Google Classroom, open the assignment, and obviously fill up all the basic information just like what we always do, your name and the date and the definition of the key vocab and the title of the lesson. And if you want to get full credit, obviously you need to answer the questions correctly in complete sentences using your own words. So that's our first lesson, Chapter 7, Section 1.1, Pre-Inca Cultures.